Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Apprenticeship Illinois webinar. I'll be your moderator and technical support. My name is Antonio Gomez. I work for the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. We ask that you hold all of your questions for the Q&A portion of the chat. However, the Q&A portion of the session, I apologize. However, the chat is always open, so feel free to go ahead and post them there and don't forget them, and we'll get to them once we get to the Q&A portion. You can also enable the closed captioning for accessibility purposes if you would like to follow along that way. And we will be recording this webinar, and a copy of it will be available on apprenticeshipillinois.com within a couple of days. You'll receive an email when all of that is posted. I will also drop a couple of resources in the chat that the presenters have asked me to pass along. So give me just a brief second to make sure that everybody's chat is enabled. Fantastic. And I'm going to drop all of these resources for you. And I'll drop them again at the end in case any new members join, but these will also be included in the email. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this on to Nate to get us started.
Thanks so much, Antonio. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Collab for Success Apprenticeship Illinois webinar series. My name is Nate Carlson. I have the pleasure of serving as the Technical Assistance Program Manager for Apprenticeship Illinois. I work out of the Workforce Policy Lab on behalf of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And really, today we are here, as always, to support the expansion of work-based learning opportunities in Illinois. We know that opportunities like apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, internships, all that good stuff can be transformative both for companies looking to foster growth as well for career seekers looking for high quality training opportunities. And chambers of commerce are one of the most vital partners we have towards expanding apprenticeship and other forms of work-based learning. That's something I first became aware of years ago when I was working as an apprenticeship specialist, just trying to make those initial business contacts, trying to establish credibility. And here was this wonderful organization staffed by wonderful people who already had that credibility and could help me make those connections. And so there's so much to be gained from these connections with chambers of commerce. And so that's why I'm so grateful today to have three extraordinary subject matter experts on with us. Before we get into today's panel, I want to talk a little bit about Apprenticeship Illinois and our apprenticeship specialists. We have a network of apprenticeship specialists throughout the state. To find a specialist in your area, you can head to apprenticeshipillinois.com and click on the employers page. If your area does not have an apprenticeship specialist, I'm sorry/congratulations. That means you get to work with me. My contact information is on there as well, and we'll talk through a few more resources later. The function of our apprenticeship specialists, several of whom are on the line today, is to conduct in-person and virtual outreach through events and employer consultations to work with employers to fully develop and register their programs from start to finish, and also serve as a connection point for employers to other services and workforce programs. So our specialists really are a one-stop shop for making those workforce connections happen. And so please check them out on apprenticeshipillinois.com if those services would be useful to you or a partner. Without further ado, I want to give a warm welcome to today's expert panelists. From the Nashville Chamber of Commerce, we have Charity Walker. From the Lake Zurich area of Commerce, we have Claire Slattery. And from the GLMV Chamber of Commerce, we have Scott Adams. I'll give them all time to introduce themselves and their organizations as we get into question one. And there's no set order here, so whoever wants to pop off mute first, go ahead. Just introduce yourself, your organization, and just because we've got three different chambers from three different places today, I would love to know one thing you think that makes your business community unique.
Well, I'll start. My name is Claire Slattery. I'm the executive director for the Lake Zurich Area Chamber of Commerce. I've been involved with the chamber since 2009 as a member. I had a small marketing agency and was on the board from 2011 to 2018, and that's when I stepped into this executive director role. So I see things. I'm able to see things from both ends, being a business owner and being in this role. We represent over 325 members in five different municipalities: Lake Zurich, Hawthorne Woods, Killdeer, Deer Park, Long Grove, and we are, I think what makes us unique is just that we're a regional village feel, right? Like while we serve five distinct municipalities, our business community operates as one cohesive ecosystem. You know, we bridge the gap between high-end retail hubs like our Deer Park Town Center, that has, the big box stores, and then across between that and like a robust industrial park that we have. So it's just about creating a diverse but kind of tightly knit network that, where like competitors actually often serve as collaborators. So.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Claire.
Mhm.
I'm happy to go next. Good afternoon. My name is Charity Walker. I am with the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce. I serve as our Director of Apprenticeships. I have been in this role for about a year and a half, a very unique role for a chamber. And really, my role came in to work with stakeholders, employers around looking at apprenticeships as a talent solution strategy for the Middle Tennessee region. Our Nashville Area Chamber does serve about a 10-county region, so we serve all of Middle Tennessee. And I would say that one thing that makes our business community unique is really the creative culture. We're known to be a music city for a reason, and I think we really hone in to who we are as a community, and really galvanize behind that.
Thanks so much, Sherry.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Adams. I'm president of the GLMV Chamber of Commerce, which stands for Green Oaks, Libertyville, Mundelein, and Vernon Hills. We are located central Lake County. We often say we're the crossroads of Lake County. Everybody has to pass through one of our 4 communities to get someplace. But we're very diversified. We were an organization of about 650 members, a little over 650 members, and we work with large manufacturers, large industry, as well as mom and pops. I think what makes us unique to a great extent is because we're kind of the crossroads of Lake County. We are in Lake County being one of the top 10 counties in the United States for its economic vitality. We feel that what we do in our role is promoting businesses and helping our businesses sustain and market themselves better. We've become kind of an economic machine as well as some of the larger industries in the area as well. So thanks very much for having us today.
Absolutely, Scott. And one thing I love before we jump into the second question is just, when I hear the three of you talk about the different business communities that you serve, it reminds me so much of the way that our apprenticeship specialists, our workforce partners, also serving a diverse array of businesses, also, we're getting to work with everything from a mom and pop shop to a major industrial player in the space. So much that we have in common coming at it from, different sides of this sort of workforce fence. So that's really exciting to hear from the offset. And so just because, we want to make sure everybody puts in, different components, just tell us now because I think a lot of folks, we hear chambers of commerce, we see chambers of commerce in the parade, we get hired in workforce and they tell us, hey, chambers are a really important partner, but nobody ever says what chambers do. And so a lot of people just maybe still don't know. And there's no shame in that, right? But because we have such excellent subject matter experts here today, please tell us what are 1 or 2 roles or services that your chamber provides or plays in the local business ecosystem.
Wow, I'm happy to kick this one off. That's a great question. I think one of the things I'm excited about with this diverse panel is that chambers, really depending on the area and the region they serve, it really varies in terms of their scope and their practice. So I would say that our Nashville Area Chamber, we're unique in that our economic development and our talent development is housed within our Chamber of Commerce. So again, that also impacts the scope of our work. I'm on our talent education team. So I would say one of our primary roles that we play is we are an economic driver for Middle Tennessee. A lot of the things that we do is around recruitment and retention and talent development. And we are one of the primary areas that issues a whole strategic plan for the Nashville region every 5 years to really drive and ensure that we are maintaining a robust economy and a strong community. Another thing that I would say that we are is that we are, I would say we spearhead innovation. So when we are hearing talent solutions issues or just community issues from our businesses and from our local community partners, there are many councils and many initiatives that started as an innovative solution to a problem in our community that was housed in the chamber, end up spinning off into its own organization. So we now have like a National Technology Council that spinned off, an entrepreneurial center that started off again as a small team at the chamber, working on it, and it organically grew. So I think, again, we have a unique ability to, again, hear not only from the business community, but from various stakeholders and community partners, and be able to help drive solutions for the specific issues in our economy, to ensure that it remains strong, intact, and robust.
Thanks so much. I love that idea of the chamber almost functioning in a sense as like an incubator for, innovation in your business community. Because, so often chambers can fill that, leadership role and truly like showing like, hey, here's what's available. Have you heard of this thing called apprenticeship? And then as with anything, we never know where that snowball's going to roll to. But it's really exciting that organizations like yours can help give that first push.
Absolutely, especially with being able to bring other experts into the room. So it's not like we're solving them by ourselves, but because we're such a centralized connector, we're able to bring many people to the table to serve as a collaborative space as well.
Charity, how many members do you guys have?
Oh, it's a great question. We have over. I might have to go back and look that up just to make sure that I'm giving you an accurate number. We have a very large business community just because we are regional, again, serving a 10 county scope. So let me double check that just to make sure I'm not inaccurate.
Yeah, no, I went there just because, Nate, going back to the basics of a chamber, I mean, chambers are connectors, right? We're nonpartisan, so we don't play in either sandbox. We kind of bring all the sandboxes together to play, right? Well, hopefully to play. But we're really a convener, right? Conveners, connectors. I mean, we're really the only, I think, Scott, you might disagree, maybe think of another type of organization, but like I think we're one of the only organizations in a community that just brings people together to convene about whatever it is, right? So we're bringing private sector, local government, everyone has an agenda. Honestly, chambers really don't have an agenda. Our agenda is to help business owners to stay educated, to be connected to legislators, to build their network, to be seen in the community, whether it's sponsoring an event or something like that. So it's really kind of the unique dynamic of a chamber, just for those who on the call who may not, understand. There's a lot of people that say, "What's a chamber?" So
no, that's a great point. Just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, we have over 1,800 members. So again, we're fairly large. Yeah, we're fairly, and that's why I said, depending on understanding your local chamber is very helpful. Because because we're regional, we work with local county chambers. Because although we serve a 10 county radius, we aren't the only chamber within a 10 county radius, if that makes sense. And because we house economic development in our department regionally, it's more so, again, working when it comes to bringing more regional businesses, large corporate headquarters, and then also helping work with our other local chambers in terms of figuring out specifically the right place and space for people to go in.
So yeah, you're very, you're very different, I think, than like Scott and our chambers, but Scott's is much bigger, and you can have chambers that are smaller. It just depends. So there's such a gamut of the types of chambers. Obviously you're like kind of an umbrella of a bunch of chambers. So that makes sense why your numbers are so large. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this idea of chambers as, primarily a connector, because again, we see parallels to the workforce system, where even in registered apprenticeship, we have intermediaries whose entire role on sort of the public workforce side is bringing together, adult ed and K-12 and community colleges and businesses. And so in the same way that we have these hubs for connection on the workforce side, chambers do that to bridge public and private partnerships in a way that I think is really exciting.
And I think that's an important piece because when I came on 10 years ago, we sat down and we kind of thought, okay, what do we do really well? We really are good B2B, but we're not really good B2C. So we've really taken an endeavor over the last 10 years to make sure that we're more community involved. But, our main goal is to teach our businesses how to network properly, build their partnerships, build these relationships that they can build on whether it be for business purposes or just for being visibility, that type of thing. We enable businesses to do the best thing they can through our marketing efforts that we provide. And, we do over 200 events during the year, and everything that we do is meant to be getting people together so they can chat, learn about their businesses, and become friends. We even during the COVID period, we made an active decision that we are not going to drop anything. We're going to run everything that we possibly can, and we did it all on Zoom. I mean, we did goofy things like happy hours on Thursday where we'd play bingo out on a patio at Bill's Pub. We did a lot of things just to drive people together so they didn't lose those connections, because it's so important for particularly the smaller businesses to be able to network and talk with their friends and find out different ways that they can be helpful. And when we actually intercede with that, because we have our people that come to us and they say, gee, I'm having a problem with this or problem with that. We try to find a solution or another connection for them so that they can keep their business going and make their business better.
Scott, you actually reminded me that during COVID we had a online after hours, and we we hired a comedian to come in and kick it off, and people were like, "What is this?" We also had like a box. One of the assisted living places said we want to sponsor like a box of snacks, and so everyone could drive there, get their box, and then come and sit and listen to this. It was kind of funny. So yeah, we did get crazy during COVID, didn't we? In
You
more
had to
ways than
keep it
one.
going.
In
You
more
had to
ways
keep
than
it
one.
going.
I was going to piggyback on Scott too, is just that when you see those shop local campaigns, right? I mean, that's the chamber. The chamber is kind of driving that shop local traffic because it keeps tax dollars in our community. It funds our schools, it funds our parks. So talk about weaving and interweaving the ecosystem. That's a classic example as well.
Yeah, and we had to get pretty inventive at what we were doing, because the way the governor came down with shutting down the small business areas where particularly affected our restaurants. We did a GoFundMe page for our restaurants, but always driven by the fact that we were providing food for our first responders. So we would pick a restaurant and we would pay them to go and take dinners and lunches to our first responders so that they were being taken care of, but we also put a little money in the coffers of the restaurants as well. And it was very successful. I think we spent close to $20,000 doing that in a month's period. So, we're trying to think out of the box, make sure that we can find it. And we have to do that today too. I mean, the environment is what it is. The economy is what it is, but we have to be able to find different ways to promote these businesses and make them successful.
I love all of that. And all of the examples that, the three of you have given, I think speak to the fact that not only are our chambers driving innovation for the businesses who are members, but also, constantly innovating ways to serve those members as well, whether they be a small business or a larger organization. And I think, apprenticeship programs very much tie into that as, something that not all employers are necessarily super familiar with, but can be such an important and an innovative solution for expanding their workforce. And so I don't want to lead this question in too much, but because you are such a connection point for your the businesses in your community, we have a ton of workforce professionals on the call who every day are trying to help businesses address some of their pain points. And so what are the things you hear currently in 2026? What are the pain points that you're hearing from your members, whether they are things that align perfectly with apprenticeship programs or not? This is, really what's going on. Give us a sense of, the temperature.
Okay, I'll kick it off. I would say, employee engagement, right? And retention is a big one that hits. I mean, we and it's an issue on both ends, because you can have an employer who's like, okay, I need to hire X, right? I need to hire this person. And they'll send out the job description, and they'll be getting in resumes, and then nobody gets a call back, because it's a daunting task, right? To figure out how to get through how these resumes and a hiring process. Hiring process, as we know, it's very daunting. It's very time consuming. And then if you do get the person in and they don't stay, you've just spent a lot of money on nothing, right? So it's retention, but simultaneously it's like that engagement, right? They're looking for more than just a paycheck right now. They want positions that offer autonomy, that offer psychological safety. They want benefits, right? So that kind of align with today's society. So I'd say there's that. And then the other thing is just kind of skills mismatch. Like we see that in like manufacturing, in special service sectors, finding talent with those technical certificates that they need to work with this modern equipment and things like that are taking, that the businesses have.
Yes, retention and the need for that specialized training is so often what we hear from employers as a pain point, and so often why we point to something like registered apprenticeship as a solution. I mean, you can see in our Apprenticeship Illinois logo, prepare, train, retain is really the function of these programs, and the idea that not only do we get the talent that we need into these organizations, but also that by training these individuals, by presenting them with this opportunity, the business is more likely to retain them long term and not have those turnover cycles where, yeah, all of that onboarding and paperwork has been done for no reason, and now we got to start all over. The apprenticeship promise is theoretically we're just doing it once per person.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I would definitely say skills gap is one of the pain points. Just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying. And I would even say, again, my role, even at a chamber being so unique to have a specific apprenticeship position is really for that reason, is to really help champion a specific talent solution strategy, especially with how much momentum and attention that apprenticeships have gained. They're no longer seen as just being focused on the trades, but now you're seeing apprenticeship degrees. Tennessee was one of the first states to have a registered teacher apprenticeship. We're seeing it in accounting, we're seeing it in IT, we're seeing it in nursing. So again, how can we intentionally not just talk about this skills gap that we are seeing, but how are we ensuring that we are training up a new generation of workers that are not only focus on learning and acquiring the specific skill set, but also just a very human-centered strategy, because you're also providing a strong pathway for the actual employee, right? So they are actually being able to get mentored and get into a strong work culture. And again, I think the retention absolutely speaks for itself. So I think that's one of the things that my role has done in working with employers and stakeholders, is bringing people together and talking more about how can we implement, align and scale this type of strategy, and just bringing more accessibility and awareness. But it's because even though apprenticeships have been around for a long time, it's still slowly making its way in introduction into new industries as in terms of being really seen as a reliable and a proven strategy. And I feel like that's something that we really do in our role. I would also say when it comes to the skills gap is really looking at skills-based hiring. Right, what our hiring practice doing? We've had some very traditional hiring practice that relied a lot more on education requirements as opposed to actually competencies. So how can we shift our mindset in that direction as well, to ensuring that you are that your hiring practice are more aligned with the skills that you're looking to hire for, and how you interviewing in such a way that you can more closely align to ensure that your candidates actually have those competencies and those skills. I would say another huge pain point that we are seeing specifically in our area, and I'm sure that I'm gonna get some just an agreement on this, and that is childcare. That goes across the board, really into every area, but that is highly affecting our workforce. So we are looking, again, as a spearhead of innovation, we are looking to see what strategies are around. So we have been admitted into this early childhood business advisory council to see how can we explore more innovative childcare solutions that, again, will lead to a strong economy and workforce.
Charity, have you heard of Ready Nation?
I have not.
Okay, I would look it up. They are they advocate for childcare. They often have sign-on letters and things like that for legislation. And right. I don't know. I'm assuming it's not Illinois based. I'm assuming it's everywhere. Because
I was going to ask where they're based out of.
Right? But definitely look up. There's a gentleman who works there that or that heads it off, that's really great. So I can do an
Great, yeah.
introduction to you if you'd like, because that would be a
Yeah,
great
that'd be
asset.
absolutely. Yeah, I would love that. I would say that there's another team member who's kind of become the child care guru, so they may very well know, but I definitely do not pass up a connection and an opportunity to learn from someone. So would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, the skilled workers and the mismatch is it seems to be inherent. People take jobs for the wrong reasons, and that leads to a lot of problems. But I think what one of the things that we preach to our business is that since COVID, the workforce and the work dynamic has changed greatly. And, these companies need to be and learn to be more flexible in the way that they handle their employees, give them greater flexibility in how they work and whether it be from home or give them different hours off, that type of thing. The other thing we run into a lot is just that these smaller businesses that we have, and, we probably 40% of our businesses are small businesses that are within our group, and probably greater number. But they can't compete with the benefits that the larger companies have. And I mean that's a huge problem. You may have a real qualified guy or lady that's coming into your business, but she's got an offer from an AbbVie or somebody like that, and the benefits outweigh what that smaller company can provide for them. So that's been difficult. We all hear about the housing shortage, and it's not just the attainable housing area; it's housing everywhere. Is in general. We were just looking. I have a realtor friend that just sent me something the other day, and Libertyville is a community of around 20,000 residents. There are less than 15 houses for sale in Libertyville, which makes it very difficult. And now we've got AbbVie over in North Chicago going to build two more facilities over there, and they're expecting to hire 300 to 500 more people. Where are we going to house them? I mean, that's the big problem. But this internship is very interesting because I'm a kid that grew up in Libertyville and went on to college, and all three of my kids grew up and went on to college. But the dynamic today around internships and apprenticeships is so important. We've got a couple of our members that are manufacturing companies. They would not be able to survive if they were not offering these amenities to some of these high school kids that, were probably destined to go to four-year colleges. They go through that apprenticeship program and they come out with jobs that are paying them $80,000 a year and with no college debt. And the more that we can get that across to our schools, and we've got 5 school districts that belong to the chamber, and I'll tell you, it's becoming better, but the fight to get the parents to realize maybe these kids really need to go into something where they're welding or they're tool and die people, that type of thing. And because that's the backbone of manufacturing. And Lake County is a huge manufacturing county. We need to get more of those kids involved in those programs.
Absolutely. All of those great pain points. Some of them maybe we can address with apprenticeship. Some of them, I don't, well, if anybody here's got, a bunch of land for housing, let me know. But otherwise, we'll leave that up to the zoning folks, I suppose. We'll keep things moving here into question 4. How has your chamber collaborated with workforce development? And I'm sure, obviously, you all have lots of examples of this. So feel free to speak in broad strokes or just talk about a specific partnership that you've really found to be beneficial for your members. What does that collaboration looks like? Because that's really what we're here to do today is, help create those opportunities for all the folks on the call in their communities with their chambers. So what does that look like as an example for folks?
I would say obviously our biggest, connection now is with our Lake County Workforce Development, right? Examples of kind of getting them in front of our members, our businesses through, the business, like we had a business resources event that they just got to highlight everything they offer. And we have a state of the state, which is more of a legislator. It's nice to have the legislators know about what our workforce development offers as well, since they see a entirely different group of people. Having them have a booth at the expo, having their ads in our community, like print guides, things like that, just to get them out into the community. Because I can tell you that this is it's a start, right? So you look at them and you say, listen, we have these apprenticeship programs. We have these, opportunities where you can have them cover some of the costs of your first employee, your employer or employee rather. And they just look at their and you're like, no, that's just, nobody gives us anything for free. Like that's not possible. So there's that barrier that we have to get over by explaining these Lake County, and every other county that these offers are there. It's just not too common that they hear about these free, or obviously not all free, but these opportunities, these resources. So we kind of act as like the boots on the ground, and to kind of translate those resources and actionable steps for the business owner. And it's not just Lake County Workforce Development either. It's our local community colleges. We have a tech campus. We've got, obviously expressing and sharing what DCEO has, Lake County Partners, like all these groups in the ecosystem, being able to share all of those offerings out is the best way for us to be, collaborating with those people, with those departments.
Yeah, and I particularly love because so often we have field practitioners here who see a mismatch between policy and the experiences that businesses or career seekers are having in their day-to-day engagements. And so I love the idea of like, yeah, it's actually really important for the workforce development folks to get in front of legislators or have a voice in that conversation, and chambers as a means of facilitating that connection as well is something I hadn't necessarily considered. So just one more reason for folks to make that connection is to make sure that they're represented in things like those fairs and stuff, to have that visibility.
We had a business resources program last September, and it was kind of funny because that's when all the tariffs and things were coming down, and we had a woman who owned a restaurant, a tacos restaurant, and she basically said, hey, what do I do about my avocados and my limes? Because it's like harder to get, and then how do you raise your prices, and how do you not you know upset your customers and things like that. And so long and short of it is that she sat there and listened to our speakers, and she ended up getting an employee placed with her. And I don't know what happened with all the avocados and the limes, but we kind of joked about it. We've been joking about it ever since, just, hey, the lady with the avocado and limes, right? And how we helped her. So it definitely opened up doors, and I think that's what you need that one business that's gonna take advantage of the program, and then they're going to tell so many people. It's your old seven tell seven, whatever, Kevin Bacon. I don't know, I'm probably getting over my head there, but that center of circle. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, well, number one, I think it's the best kept secret in Lake County. When we bring people from workforce development to our meetings, we still see that glazed over look, like these services are available, these services are free, much like Claire says. But it is true, and we have to keep reminding them that those services are there because they are so important to their business, whether they're a big business or a small business. It's just incredible the amount of thing. And the other thing that we've been trying to do is make sure that when we talk about it, that we make sure that our business is back to us, because we can then refer them over to workforce development to help them get an intern, help them get a receptionist, whatever that job opening is, because they do have the deep resources to help with people doing that on a regular basis. And I think the thing that we've done is just bring that awareness to more and more people. Even a couple of our economic development commissions within our villages. When I bring up workforce development, they kind of go, I'm not too versed in that. And it's amazing because they're a municipality, they don't even know that those services are there, and the vital help that they can give the businesses within their communities is just is amazing. So I think our goal, Claire's goal, Charity's goal, is to make sure that we keep talking about it, because more people we talk to about it, the better they're going to get reception. They're going to dive deeper into it and look for more help, call us and help us give that referral back to Jeff and Sarah and everybody in our Lake County area to help with that, because it's so important. Competition just within our four communities is unbelievable. We have close to 95 restaurants in our chamber, and they all compete for that same business, and they're all looking for cooks, they're all looking for waitresses and everything else that they need. And here's an opportunity for them to really dive in and get some help that's not going to cost them anything, and it's really going to be quality because they're going to be screened before they get them.
Absolutely. And Scott, I know you just mentioned one of our incredible apprenticeship specialists, Sarah Esplund, who's on the call. I wonder if you, Scott, or Claire could speak more to specifically working with Sarah on that apprenticeship outreach piece.
Well, I know that obviously and just a little backstory too, like usually on your board, on our chamber boards, I mean, for instance, we have all five of our municipality managers, from the areas we serve. We have our D95s, our school district. We have our township, we have our library, we have our hospital. And so every month you're coming together with the community. Like that's what I said, it's regional, it's village, it's not just one area, but you come together and you share this information and you share what they're doing. And some of the with respect to the Lake Zurich school system, I mean, they're working with Sarah's incumbent worker training program for the teacher apprenticeships. So they are I mean, they're as well training people to become teachers. So I mean, that's just a little example of one offshoot of how we get involved with that workforce development, just making those connections, right?
Absolutely. And what an exciting connection for teacher apprenticeships, something that's so needed and fairly cutting edge that we're excited to see flourishing in Lake County.
And much like Claire says, that's exactly what we extend ourselves to do as well. And we've had situations where we've had somebody get outsourced out of a business, and we refer them over to workforce development. And we just had a placement just a couple of weeks ago where we were able to do that. But I go back to the apprenticeship system, and I know just that company that we've had that's a member of the chamber, and I think one of their people sits on the board of workforce development as well. I mean, they work night and day to look for these talented kids. They may be straight A students bound for college, like I said before, but here's an opportunity for them to really get involved in a business from the ground level up and, come out of there with being debt free. I think that's the piece that most of the parents and a lot of the high school counselors don't realize is this is something that needs to be touted. It needs to be expressed. And I think the environment's getting better to where it's really it's taking hold, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Sorry, Terry.
Yeah, I would just say that. Sorry. Yeah, I would say again, with our talent and workforce being housed within our chamber, we really work on that convening and connector piece. Specifically, my role in working with workforce development, we have really championed apprenticeships as a talent solution strategy. And what we started doing is hosting lunch and learns because, again, we recognize that we have the unique ability to, one, reach our business community, but also bring in various stakeholders. And then we start bringing in the experts. So we partner with our state apprenticeship agency, our office of apprenticeships, to come in and talk about apprenticeships. We brought somebody from our workforce board, which is like the funding arm of our state, to come and talk about funding incentives. Because yes, they may hear it a little bit when we tell them, but have the expert come in and say, yes, this is what you can get, and these are the type of resources that we can provide for you, and this is the paperwork, and actually seeing somebody can always help kind of bring down some of those apprehensions that can be associated with those funding incentives. And even when thinking about full on career pathways, one of the things I love about the apprenticeship model is that it can seamlessly align with work-based learning, right? So even when it comes to working with your local public schools, what is it like to really be able to define a seamless pathway from the K through 12 space all the way up to apprenticeship. So again, our unique ability to be able to work with our local public school system and the relationships that we have been able to build with that, we're looking at, okay, what is it like to align pre-apprenticeships with that, right? And bringing somebody in, again, to talk about, not only for us to talk about it, but also bringing people to businesses and organizations who have already done some aspect of it to kind of highlight the success story of like, hey, this is what we did and this is how it's worked for us. Again, it makes it seem more possible and more reliable for a community member or for a local business. So again, just really coming together in a highly collaborative space to really bring more access and information around workforce development needs. And lastly, I would say something else that we do when it comes to workforce is we highlight innovative strategies through quarterly forums as well, where we talk about a specific talent issue, and then we bring a panel of people who have addressed it in some format, some form of format, and kind of talk a little bit more about kind of how they came to their creative solution and kind of what were some of their learnings as well.
I love hearing about those events and partnerships, Charity. You said lunch and learn, and I lit up just because. And here's a real softball for you. Would it be a good idea for any workforce practitioners or apprenticeship specialists to contact their local chambers today about setting up a lunch and learn opportunity to educate their local businesses?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's low hanging fruit, really. It really is. I mean, the chamber, they already have the business organizations. You are the expert. You can come in and bring that knowledge, and you are opening access to a whole nother community that potentially you have not had access to before. So that's kind of some of the first initiatives that I started in my role, and that has kind of led to the expansion of kind of the current work that we are doing. And we saw high traction from that because a lot of people had heard about apprenticeships, but again, there's a lot of misunderstanding around it, or again, the possibility of actually seeing it for our business and our organization, our industry, and just somebody coming in and simply talking about it has really done wonders.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll keep things moving here. And here's time to brag. And some of you have already talked about a lot of the exciting work that you're doing. You talked about, especially the innovative ways you kept businesses connected during COVID. But just space to brag. What event or initiative are you most proud of for its reach or impact in your community?
Okay, I'll go. So we, Scott and I actually, since we're kind of neighboring chambers, we recently had our first summit. It was called Breaking Barriers, and it was a half day, and it explored key challenges facing women and minorities in terms of business owners, professionals. So it delivered like practical insights, strategies, and tools to overcome them. It was very empowering, very inspiring. We had topics such as, kind of navigating the money journey, claiming your value, expanding your market and networks, and then navigating policy. So the best thing that came of that, and we opened it to all of Lake County. And I think the best thing that came of something like that is sitting in the back of the room, which I didn't for a while because I moderated a lot of it, but sitting in the back in the beginning and even standing in front and looking around the room and seeing this beautiful diversity that sometimes you don't see, and everyone, it was, diversity from all aspects, diversity from, race, from gender, from business, from every aspect. And it was pretty cool to come together because we know that, although, the acronym of DEI is, apparently dead, the challenges are still there for women and minority business owners. And so that was kind of the key of the summit. Very similar to that in the fall. About 3 years ago, we started working with our college, Lake County, as a multi-chamber event to showcase some of their facilities. The first 2 years was their manufacturing facility that is, high tech, beautiful. It took over a huge, I think it was a Kmart or something like that, just huge space. And we did that because we wanted to just bring all of our chambers together. Sometimes we feel like as smaller chambers, we won't fill the seats the way we could if we partner with each other. So we started with, I think maybe 10 chambers. We had about 75 people in the room. And this last one, they said, can we move to our Performing Arts Center to show you that? We're like, okay. So we ended up with 175 folks from 13 different chambers. So those are just community, like county-wide events, right? There's nothing in it for anyone other than just bringing everyone together, like we said earlier, about convening, right? And sharing these resources. So, and of course, allowing another platform for workforce development to be brought up and things like that. So.
Well, those are awesome. Thank you for kicking us off there.
Yeah, we do a lot of events, and we're proud of all the ones that we do because we feel that the common goal, as I mentioned before, is to get these people networking together. But we do We do our mayor's luncheon, which is coming up in May, where we have all four of our mayors come and they kind of talk about the state of our four communities. And we always open a spot for workforce development to give a few words and refresh people's minds a little bit about what they do. We've got an expo coming up in May also. We call it the Block Party. We get 75 to 100 businesses together. And it originally was meant to be kind of a B2C kind of event, but it's really become more of a B2B because these businesses now start chatting amongst themselves and they learn more about what these businesses are. And they may learn of a business that they've never heard of before that may be very needed for their particular business as well. We do a big golf outing, which is, it's a fun event, but again, it's meant to be a network event as well. But it's just we do a financial forecast and a bunch of other things. But the event that we did with Claire a couple of weeks ago was interesting because last year we did over 100 ribbon cutting grand openings within our four communities, and I would have to say that probably 50 to 60% of those events were for women and minorities. And it gave us a great opportunity to mix and talk with these young entrepreneurs that are opening up these businesses within our communities. We also do a kind of a chamber event with other chambers as well. We call it Emerging Leaders, which we started a group of younger entrepreneurial people that are starting businesses within the area. And it kind of gives them a little different format than coming to one of our regular events where it's probably a lot of older members. We've got members that have been with the chamber for over 40 years. Our chamber's 80 years old this year. But it gives them a format, a platform to talk amongst themselves. We bring in a speaker for them that's kind of got common needs. They all kind of have that same kind of spirit of entrepreneurship that they are trying to promote. And it gives that group a little bit more of their own kind of group to be able to be comfortable with. But I think everything that we do is meant to be not self-gratifying for us, but gratifying for our members because I think they come away learning something from the group that's there. And the multi-chamber things that Claire talked about were really good. We also did one over at the casino, I think about a year and a half ago. We had 300 people show up to that thing. I mean, it was amazing. But again, it got these businesses and these chambers together that kind of talk amongst themselves, much like Claire and I do, but this gives us a bigger format to work with. And because you never know what ideas come out of those in talking with the other chambers, because we're all in the same business of making sure our businesses succeed.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Scott.
It's such a hard question to think about once I may squeeze into. But one is what we call Intro Nashville, which is essentially a community. It's like a city orientation event that we host through the chamber, where people who are new in coming to Nashville, like business organizations, they can send people to this city orientation where you're visiting all these various areas and spaces in Nashville to learn a little bit more about the city, the culture, and the business community as well. So I love it because, again, as we talk about recruitment and things of that nature, specifically with this generation, I believe, but just in general, gaining roots is what keeps you in a place as well. And Nashville is a very transient city. It's growing, busting out the seams, which is great, right? So we want to ensure that people who are moving here, that we retain them, and part of that is introducing to the culture of Nashville, and helping them gain roots. So it's a great opportunity to network amongst other chamber members, organizations. A lot of people find a community because you're also, many times they're also newer or newish to the Nashville. And then of course you're getting exposed to so many things off the bat of learning more about the history and other places and spaces to try. The last thing I would say is that our leadership study mission, which is essentially a learning visit that some of our top level executive members in the Nashville area. They visit a city each year to kind of study the landscape of that. So that's a great way, again, to understand a little bit more about innovative practices in other regions, learn more about other chambers and other business community and things that are working and doing well, so that we can continue to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And I love how, again, the focus on all of this is about connecting and convening and helping folks make these connections that are going to help their business thrive and therefore help all of the people employed by it thrive as well. So that's awesome.
Nate, I just want to add something too, just for those who aren't as familiar in the chamber world, but essentially, chambers aren't competitors. Like you hear Scott and I talking, we're neighbors. So someone could come in and say, do I want to join the Lake Zurich chamber or do I want to join the GLMV chamber? We don't care. We encourage you to join your home chamber first. So if the business resides in, like, let's say Vernon Hills, I'm like, go over and get with Scott first. And then if you feel like you can manage those memberships, then come to us. So that is not something you see really with any other type of institution or business, right? And it just lends itself to almost like that safe place, or that place where we are, that it validates us as conveners. So
Yeah, it's like that group we were with the other day, Claire, on Thursday. And, we all are in Lake County and we all compete for business. I mean, we're not in the business of poaching other businesses. We're there to really help those businesses. But by collaboratively talking amongst our fellow chamber executives, there's always something you're going to miss. And it's always great to have that collaborative spirit and learn what they're doing and learn what worked for them or maybe didn't work for them, because it helps everybody in the long run. And the main goal is to keep Lake County vibrant and making it just that work dynamo that it has been for so many years.
Absolutely. And we'll keep things rolling here. And so this is more just like, and I think we've already covered a lot of this, so I don't want to spend too much time here. But apprenticeship has become a hot topic. Everybody wants, it's the new fad, and we're happy for it because apprenticeship is our bread and butter, of course. But some of you mentioned, trepidation about apprenticeships or misconceptions about, oh, it's just for the trades, or what's this going to cost me? In general, what sort of responses, excitement, unease, anticipation have you seen about apprenticeships or other forms of work-based learning from your members?
Well, I think we're seeing a more of a positive growth in that way. More people are becoming, experienced with it, or they know somebody that's gone through that program. Like I said, we've got several school districts that we work with and many high schools, and you can see that the thinking at the high school level is changing greatly. They're realizing that not everybody's meant to go to four-year school. That these apprenticeships are really very vital for the economy of the area. So I think it's growing. I think it's gaining a lot of momentum. And I think it's just the fact that, by bringing in Sarah and everybody else that we bring in from workforce to reinforce that with the businesses that we support, and it becomes a better dynamo in the long run, that you work collaboratively with our businesses as well as the high schools to get these programs off the ground a little bit better than they have been.
I would say also just like there's like a complexity barrier though. I mean, despite the interest, like the number one response can still be like, how do I go about handling this? Or is this for me? This isn't for me. And like smaller members are hesitant, or smaller businesses are hesitant to engage just because of they're wondering like, oh my gosh, is the administrative work, rigorous? Like we're here to try and make it easier for them. If we can get them away from wherever the event is that they just heard about these services into the telephone or the email of Sarah or her team, then she can take it from there, right? Like we're just the funnel, if you will. But as we go on, and as we go on to learn more about it, we become more able to kind of talk with the business owner through the steps, so they're not super, um, empty-handed when they go into a meeting with workforce. So, but it's just going to be like that for a little while, right? And we're getting a lot of leads, we're getting a lot of referrals over to them, but it's like the golden nugget. You just have once you open up the box, you just have to keep pushing it and keep reemphasizing it, and people will figure out that they should ask about their business and how to take advantage of it.
Yeah, ditto. The only other thing I would say is that there's also a concern about financial barriers, or the investment of apprenticeships, and what are ways to address that or move forward with that. Um, so again, I think it's all about accessibility and just really giving them the necessary information. But I think also, even in talking about an investment, I think it's a culture shift in how we even view our investments. Again, once you see the retention rate and what you see, and once you know that turnover is expensive, once you kind of weigh the scales in that vantage point, I think being able to see it as a strong strategy is evident.
Absolutely. And you're speaking my language, Charity, because the first thing anybody who's gone through my apprenticeship 101 training, the first thing we clarify is apprenticeship first and foremost is an investment in training and retaining skilled talent. And so it makes sense that businesses have apprehension about that. All the more important that chambers, as Claire noted, serve that connecting function and can help clarify some of those points of confusion, and that we have our wonderful network of apprenticeship specialists who can help take them from that concept, from that first phone call, all the way through registration. I always say we have the migraine so they don't have to. All right, we've got only a few minutes left. This last one's pretty easy one. I think we can address it. Everybody on this call should reach out to their local chamber staff and try and get some events together. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but if you're not already working with your local chamber, if you haven't already fostered these connections, these are really important relationships because chambers are that crucial convener for the businesses in your area. And so with our remaining 4 minutes, I would love to open up to any audience Q&A from our three subject matter experts here. Feel free to drop questions in the chat or come off mute. We invite your participation.
Nate, can I add one more thing before they go? I want to just share with the group that, businesses trust their chamber so much that it's like we have this trust capital, right? You could have a big portion of your members that just pay the bill every month or every year, the membership dues. And you're like, why are you not networking? Or why are you not like, no, it's just credibility. So that's an old school reason, but it's true. They're those old schools they're the reason that we have the bottom foundation of what our chambers are. So I would just say leverage the chamber's trust capital, right? If you come through the chamber to reach those, you're not just another government agency. You're kind of this vetted solution provider. So
absolutely, thank you so much.
Yeah, a lot what Claire says, and I'll just wrap it up real quick. But when we talk to people, and I know Claire, you'll attest to this as well. When you talk to people and you tell them the amount of services and the amount of things that we can provide for our business community, it blows them away. And we don't charge for it. We're much like workforce development. We're there to make sure that their business is marketed properly and that they're making the connections within the community, because it's so important to do that, because people only work with people that they trust. And I think if we can give that credibility to them, they're going to be more of a trusted business in the long run.
Thank you so much. And I want to give a big virtual round of applause for our three subject matter expert panelists today, Scott, Claire, and Charity. Thank you so much for your time today. I haven't seen any questions in the chat. Does anybody want to jump off mute real quick? And if not, we will say thank you so much, everybody. Oh, we got Sarah. I want to hear from Sarah.
I just want to say thank you. Really, it's been a pleasure working with the two chambers that were representing Lake County today, and it's made such an impact. I know we're going to keep this relationship going, and I look forward to all things that we can do in the future, including more apprenticeships. So thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for attending, for participating. We look forward to seeing your collaborations with chambers increase in the future. To our panelists, thank you so much for your time and insights today. I wish you all a very happy rest of your afternoon. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.